Hey everybody, welcome to your week 10, pardon the dogs next door, week 10 wrap up. We had only 4 of us today. Half of the kiddos were missing for illness. So I hope y'all are feeling better soon, or that if you're not sick yet and your siblings are sick, that it won't jump over to you. So I'm praying for you guys and all the moms. Hope y'all stay healthy too. So today we had Japan with geography. And so we kind of made the shape of Japan, and then I kind of did the hand motions that went with the CC Happy Mom song, which was It's a Small World. I don't think I could sing it to you. But it was like Tokyo, Kyoto, Mount Fuji, and then it was Sea of Japan and Pacific Ocean. So I showed them where it was on the map, and we touched it, and then we kind of did the hand motions that went along with where the things were located on the map. And then I asked them to touch it again, and then I said it and they said it, and I said it and they said it. So we went through Japan, and then as usual we did math second, and we did jumping jacks with our squares, and I kind of explained this one. Usually don't do a lot of teaching, but after we did it, listened to the song and did some jumping jacks, I said, what this is, 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, and I kind of showed them. I don't know that they grasp the concept, but at least they know that it's just not some arbitrary numbers that we're singing. So we did jumping jacks with that and just kind of got them moving along. For Latin, it was the same as last week. So we sang our windy. Feels great out here. A little windy though. We did our fourth declension noun endings. So we did the same head, shoulders, hips, knees, toes on the way down for the singular, and then on the way up for plural we started on our toes, knees, hips, shoulders, head, and sang along with the Latin song, and repeated that a couple of times because they like to get their little bodies moving. Science was what are some leaf shapes. So I went back and said, all right, last week we learned what are some parts of a plant, and leaves were the first part. So now what are some leaf shapes? And we talked about that, and so I did some hand motions with them. I think we did linear, and then oval. I showed them an oval. I did an oval like that. Lobed, and we talked about our earlobe, and then cleft. They did cleft and showed them it was like split in 2. And then scale, like I said, what do y'all think of when you think of scales? Because I wanted them to kind of have some association. And they said snake, so we did scale-like and then needle-like. And then we went through that a couple of times, and I did the hand motions, and they said the words, and I said the words, and they did the hand motions. For science, then we went to English. So I showed them through, and then throughout, to, and then we stepped forward into toward. And then I said, what did we do last week? So we recapped, outside, over, past, regarding, since. So I said, well, let's do regarding, since, through, throughout, to, toward. And then we did it again, starting with outside through toward. That way we're kind of chunking it together. The song is and the movements is what is really helping trigger those memories for them. So that's why, it's not that the preposition paradise song is the goal, but them memorizing the prepositions, and that seems to be the best vehicle for them, and they really like doing it. So that's why I'm kind of going back and looping the week before together so that it can go a little more seamlessly with the song. For history, we did hand motions again. It seemed like a lot of hand motions, but when we actually sang the song, it worked well because the song's not very fast. So we did around 794. Here, I'm gonna around. So we did around, and then the year. Week 10. Week 10.
Week 10. Tell me about Japan's Heian period. Around 794, Japan's emperors moved to Heian, present-day Kyoto. The Heian period ended in the 12th century when civil war gave control to military commanders called shoguns in a feudal system where knights, called samurai, protected wealthy landowners.
It's a little fast, but we'll do it together here. Around 794, Japan's emperors moved to Heian, present-day Kyoto. So the H for Heian, K for Kyoto. Heian period ended. 12th century. For y'all. Military commanders shoguns in a feudal system where knights called samurai protected wealthy landowners. So even though it looks like a lot of hand motions, when you're actually singing it along, it wasn't so bad. So just to clarify the explanation behind it so you can remember, around 794, then we make the shape of Japan, E for emperor, we've done that several times, move to Heian, present-day Kyoto, and then the Heian period ended. So I showed them that we're going, this is the span of time, so the Heian time period ended in the 12th century when civil war gave control to, and then we salute for military, and then commanders. We talked about how, like the higher up that a soldier is, they have, more decoration on their shoulder. So military commanders called shoguns, shoguns, pulled the sword, shoguns in a feudal system, so kind of like the caste system, a feudal system where knights called samurai, so we put an arm in front and behind and bowed, and then came up and protected wealthy landowners. So that was history today. That seemed like a lot when I was preparing it, but when we actually did it in class, they got it really well. And then for timeline, and of course I reminded them when I said Japan's Heian period, that's where we are, and we just talked about Japan and geography, and we talked about Japan's Heian, they said Heian, depends what you're listening to, the Heian period, that's what we just learned our history sentence, and now we get to hear it in timeline and see where that falls in the timeline of history. So we just made the shape of Japan's Heian period and did our hands, like the cast that we did when we said the feudal system. And then Charlemagne, crowned Emperor of Europe, depending on we flip our hands, your crown, Emperor of Europe. And I showed them the pictures of the timeline cards, and they could see. And I showed them how the Pope was the one putting the crown on. Emperor of Europe, and then Alfred, make an A, the Great of England. We kind of shake our own hand. And then Eric the Red, I told him about red lips. So Eric the Red, and Leif Erik's son, which was his son, so we make the baby. Norse explorers. We have Vladimir the First of Kiev, make the peace sign touch, of Kiev. Byzantine Emperor Basil II. And then where it was 1000 AD, 1000 AD. And then East-West schism of the church. And so they said, why is it like ripping paper? And I said, that's what a schism, it means tearing apart. They had differences of opinions, and the church split into the East and the West. They did their own thing. So that was new grammar. And then we went outside because we did crayfish identification today. So we should be finally back on track. Well, I guess next week we're doing owl pellet, since we had to switch it around with weather. So we did week 9 science, which was the crayfish identification. And we went outside because it stunk. And we examined it, and we just really looked at the outside parts and labeled it, and I showed them the color pictures, and we talked about it, and so we named some things, and then we thought about, they asked questions, so I just kind of encouraged them to ask questions and make some hypotheses. Why would they do that? What do they use these for? Why do they have their tails like this? Why does the tail have different segments in it? And so it was fun. We talked about the crayfish. And then for presentation, they did great today. And then we did rhythm. So I followed along exactly with what it said on pages 96 and 97 in the guide for rhythm. But we did, let's get there, 96, 97. So we did talk about bar lines and measures, and we went through those things first, and we highlighted, or we drug our fingers over the bar lines, and we talked about how that made a measure between the bar lines, and how we talked about time signature being 4/4, and I explained that just so that we could, to clarify that there's only 4 beats in a measure, and so then we kind of worked on the math of that. We practiced playing a lot with proper hand position, and so we did rhythm, and they clapped it we sang the song. Ta sang Twinkle Twinkle. I played it on the tin whistle while they sang. We clapped the rhythm because we were going to just play the rhythm on one note, but that was just, couldn't quite get what I was asking them to do. So then we clapped it out until we figured that out, and then we played it on the same pitch, just count, I think we held down 2 fingers and played the rhythm for Twinkle Twinkle. And we just went through that way, and then I would play and they would finger along with it. Since we actually played the notes today for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are. They played all of those notes today, so they were super excited. But since the facility is not all there with covering holes, we practiced with, I would play it and they would move their fingers along, and then they repeated, and that did help get that under their fingers. Made it a little easier for them when it came time to play. And we had a few times where they would put, that's what I was playing, and they had it at chin position. And then we put the tin whistles away, and I put out the staff paper that's in the page protector so we could write on it with dry erase. And I had them write out a whole note and how many beats that was. And so that took up the whole measure, so we're going to put a bar line. What does that make? That makes a measure. And then we did another one. I said, if I put a half note, how many beats is that? That's 2 beats. So how many more beats are left? 2 more. Okay, let's do a half note. And then we did another half note. And I said, well, how else could we do it? We did a quarter note. How many beats is that? That's 3. So what do we need? We need another quarter note. That's 4. Measure's finished. Put a bar line. So we kept talking about the whole measure is filled with the number of beats. So we put a bar line and then move on to the next. And then we did 4 quarter notes and a bar line. So, yep, that was that. We chanted through. I think that's everything. I went straight through the lesson, and they made some progress today. It was encouraging and exciting. For review, I forgot to tell you what I did for review last week. But this week I went through all the history songs together, and we just sat at the table and remembered how many hand gestures they could remember from weeks 4 through 10. So we listened to songs, the history songs, then we went and did the Latin and kind of sang that along. And one thing that I've been doing is I explained that singular means one of something. So if we're doing singular, first declension, so we hold up 1 finger, and then we go plural, first declension. So it's still a 1 because it's the first declension or the second declension, and then it's 1 hand if it's singular, and it's 2 hands if it's plural. So I kind of explained that again today, that plural means both, so that's what, or more than one. So we have singular is 1, and then plural is more than 1. So we sang that through. We did the 1st through 4th declensions with Latin, and we were just kind of sitting at the table and singing. And then with math, they got to pick a pose to hold or an action to do. So we would we did our skip counting as a volcano. We did it as a tornado, where we put our hands up and spun in a circle while we skip counted. We did, we held tree pose, standing on 1 foot. We laid on our backs, and we're like, this is great. We laid on our backs, and we did like child's pose down on our knees with our hands out and our foreheads on the ground. So we just kind of moved along with different math, and everyone, they got to pick a different movement. And there was only 4 of them, so it kind of went quickly to go through a couple of them, got to pick. We sang timeline so far. We just started back at the beginning and went through the East-West Schism of the Church. We did the science with funny voices. So we did, what awesome ways animals reproduce, and they'd say, ways animals reproduce live birth, So we went through with funny voices, and then we kind of changed them up a little and went high pitch and robot voice, and I don't even remember all the voices. So they like to do that with science, and that works well since it's mostly just a call and response. So we use our voices and have fun. Geography, same thing. I think we did voices for geography. Just kind of, which that was the last thing we did. We didn't do the preposition song. I don't know, it skipped my mind. That was the only one thing that we didn't get reviewed. So we actually did all of the review work, either with actions or hand motions and just kind of sitting around. And it was just a very stick in the sand kind of day today. But it works, and we're able to kind of get the bulk of the memory work reviewed without a lot of time taken up in an extensive game. So as long as it works, we're going to do that. All right, well, I hope you all have a great, we were going to do a dance party. Maybe next week we'll do a dance party. After we finish every subject, we'll get up and do a dance party. So hope you all have a great weekend. Hope everyone gets well. Prayers for you all and your families. And only 2 more weeks. I'm actually not going to be here next week. Be back in North Carolina visiting family, but I'll be back for week 12, and then we're out for Christmas. That's crazy. So love you all. Bye.